In 2004, two songs came out that almost ruined Eminem's career. The Source magazine, more specifically its owners, David Mays and Raymond Scott, played two snippets at a press conference that allegedly contained a young Eminem saying multiple racist things. His career was almost destroyed, but after a controversial legal battle and multiple apologies, Eminem was able to get off scot-free. However, to understand how these songs were obtained, why they were released, and how Eminem escaped from being canceled, we have to understand his relationship with Raymond Scott. Raymond Scott, also known as Benzino, is a co-founder of the Source magazine along with David Mays. Benzino also was a rapper who put out albums in the early 2000s and had mixtapes throughout the last couple of decades, but he's best known for his neck, or lack thereof.
You're alive! Niggas want to talk about my neck. I got a fucking neck. Everybody has a fucking neck.
I'm just kidding, but he's best known for his time at the Source, as like I said, he's one of the co-founders. Back in the day, the Source was referred to by some as the hip-hop Bible, and they were the biggest magazine at the time. They also did album reviews, and they would rate albums out of 5 mics. So when Eminem's album, the Marshall Mathers LP, came out in 2000, which was arguably his best album, the Source gave it a rating of 2 mics. Ironically enough, Eminem dissed the Source the year prior for giving a group he was friends with, the Outsiders, a 2 out of 5 mics. But after the Source gave the Marshall Mathers LP a 2 out of 5 mics, fans got so upset that the Source actually changed the rating to 4 out of 5. And this is where most people believe that the beef started.
When I was a kid growing up in the early 90s on hip-hop, the Source, as we used to know it, was the Bible of hip-hop. Like, it was, their word was gold. If somebody got 4 mics, you was going to cop it. If somebody got 5 mics, you was going to cop it. If somebody got 3.5, yeah, you know, you didn't know. But their word was gold, and they was usually right.
I know that you have yet to receive a 5 mic review in the Source. Is that something that was...
I have yet to receive even a 4.5. Everybody gets a 4. Everybody, like, that's the standard now. That's the standard. If you get a 4.5, that must mean that Benzino wants you on his album.
It's clear that Eminem used to respect the Source and wanted to get a good score, especially when he said on the song Say What You Say, 5 mics in the Source ain't holding my breath, but I'll suffocate for the respect before I breathe to collect the check. Ironically enough, this song was on the album The Eminem Show, which also received 4 mics. Eminem blamed the co-founder of the Source, Benzino, for this happening. He figured that Benzino had a problem with him, and he was right, as Benzino later admitted to blocking his scores from getting 5 mics.
It's like, you know, Eminem is the king of hip hop, you know, he's the greatest to ever do it, you know, they're just, you know, going crazy with, you know, the way they're portraying him. And I think that, you know, rubbed Benzino the wrong way. And I think it had him thinking like, you know, this could be bad.
Dave and Benzino were very vocal about their concerns with Eminem, claiming the reason they blocked his album score was because he was white and they didn't want another Elvis situation. It is definitely ironic though, because Benzino was given his own albums 5 mics, which really hurt the Source's credibility. One fan wrote on YouTube, "I quit reading the Source when it became 20 pages of Benzino ads for his records." There was also an incident where Benzino apparently tried to interview Eminem backstage at a show in Puerto Rico, but Eminem ignored him. Understandably so, since they had been beefing a little bit already. This is when the beef really picked up though, and Benzino released the song I Don't Wanna, where he first dissed Eminem. Apparently after this, 50 Cent was hosting Hot 97, and Eminem called in and said, "I want to request that new Benzino record. It's hot. See if you can find that one and play it for me. You might have to dig in the trash. It may be in the bottom of the trash can." Then Benzino released another diss track called Pull Your Skirt Up. He called Eminem 2003 Vanilla Ice and also mentioned backslapping Eminem's mom. Eminem had vaguely referenced the beef on the song Invasion, but he directly targeted Benzino on the songs The Sauce and Nail in the Coffin in late 2002. Like most Eminem beefs though, the fans preferred M's tracks much more. Also, Obi Trice responded to Benzino on this album, and all of these diss tracks went crazy. The next month, Benzino released the diss track Die Another Day, where he went all out. He was dissing everyone, calling Eminem racist, and also threatened Eminem's daughter's life. He said, "Tell Haley it ain't safe no more. Daddy better watch your back at the candy store. You fucked up, resort to plan B. Around and she end up like JonBenet Ramsey." Just so you guys know, according to Google, JonBenet Ramsey was an American child beauty queen who was killed at the age of 6 in her family's home. So yeah, that's kind of messed up. And she was only 7 at the time, so that was a pretty crazy bar. Then Benzino released a few more diss tracks towards Eminem.
I mean, did something happen to spark that between you and him? Did anything happen? I mean...
Angie, I swear on my daughter's life, I never met this dude. I never met this man, this girl in my life. I never met this woman. She is obsessed with me. I cannot understand it.
This is when the great magazine beef between XXL and The Source happened, with each magazine picking sides between M and Benzino. Originally, Eminem actually had beef with XXL because they put a picture of his butt in their magazine, and I'm also pretty sure they called him racist a few times. And after Eminem said something about it, it prompted them to respond with an issue with M on the cover that said "Got beef." Eventually though, Eminem smoothed things out with XXL, but not The Source. So both magazines were beefing, which is pretty funny, and The Source eventually put out a cover of Benzino holding up Eminem's decapitated head. In my opinion, it's pretty crazy seeing magazines use their covers to diss artists, but it also had to have been very entertaining at the time. There were a lot of beefs going on involving people in M's camp. So many diss tracks were coming out, and M kept throwing shots at Benzino on multiple songs. There were diss tracks coming out from all sorts of rappers. It's kind of like the old person version of what we got going on right now with Drake and Kendrick and all their boys going at each other. But after all of this went down, Benzino was out for blood, and he wanted to take Eminem down. So he did some digging and found some songs that almost ruined Eminem's career. After years of calling Eminem a person who is exploiting hip-hop or giving hip-hop a bad rep, Benzino finally had something to back it up. The Source was given what they said was a tape of songs that they deemed the racist rap hour by 3 white hip-hop fans from Detroit who were peers of Eminem in the early 90s at the time of the recording.
And they play me some of this music, the racist rap hour, you know, that Eminem and his group at the time, you know, it was 3 other white guys, had made this whole tape with a lot of racist stuff on it.
Dave Mays and Benzino then held a press conference in 2003 with The Flyer, the source to expose secret racist tape Eminem has kept hidden since 1993. They decided to leak 2 snippets of old songs allegedly created by Eminem in front of tons of reporters and journalists.
We can hear the music now.
I'll get straight to the point. Black girls are bitches. That's why I'ma tell you, you better pull up your britches. Cause all that cash is making your ass drag from the boyfriend you gang. Black girls and white girls just don't mix because black girls are dumb and white girls are good chicks. White girls are good. I like white girls.
Black women are bad, white women are good. I don't care if he's redeemed himself now. That's not the message. And if that's who he is, then he has to be held accountable for that.
Looking deeper into the 2 tracks that were played, the first one is typically referred to as Foolish Pride. M says things like, never date a black girl because blacks only want your money. If that gets clipped out of context, I'm gonna be very upset at you guys. The song though was supposedly recorded in the spring of 1990, which would have made Eminem 18 at the time. The other snippet they played was called So Many Styles, and was arguably much worse for Eminem's image, and that is because on this song he said the N-word. This one is allegedly from 1993, which would have made Eminem 21. Regardless, both of these snippets left the crowd shocked.
He played the tape, and M said what he said on the tape, and the room got quiet, and then different people from different publications started asking him questions, and it was the spearhead of that, you know, Eminem is a racist movement.
Benzino said, don't make this right now a double standard. We gotta treat this the same way you treat Mike Tyson, like you treat Kobe Bryant, like you treat R. Kelly, like you treat O.J. Simpson. And I can understand the double standard sentiment, but R. Kelly and O.J. Simpson's a little crazy, let's be honest. Anyway, M and his team quickly responded to the allegations brought upon him by The Source. Eminem put out a statement days later saying, Ray Benzino, Dave Mays, and The Source have had a vendetta against me, Shady Records, and our artists for a long time. The tape they played today was something I made out of anger, stupidity, and frustration when I was a teenager. I'd just broken up with my girlfriend, who is African American, and I reacted like the angry, stupid kid I was. I hope people will take it for the foolishness that it was, not for what somebody is trying to make it into today. This statement was in reference to the track Foolish Pride. Then Eminem's manager, Paul Rosenberg, said the next day that neither he nor Eminem had heard or heard of the first track that Benzino and Mays played, which was in reference to the track that had Eminem saying the N-word. There's a lot of debate about whether or not it was actually Eminem who was on that track, but I'm fairly certain it was him for a couple of reasons. 1, because it kinda sounds like him. 2, because he says, just say that Eminem is the best MC in all of times, because who else but M would say that in 93 about someone else. And 3, because Eminem has admitted to saying the N-word when he was younger. In a freestyle he did in 2007 on Shade 45, Eminem said, I can do anything and apologize for it later, as long as it ain't a racist tape from 88. Then I'm straight up that cannot be forgave. He continued to say, But things later got much more serious after Eminem and Paul made statements, because Shady Records decided to sue the Source for copyright infringement. The lawsuit reads, "In this action for copyright infringement, plaintiff Shady Records sues Source Enterprises, claiming defendants infringed its copyright in 2 pieces of recorded music co-authored by Mathers." The lawsuit also revealed how the songs came about, saying, "In the late 1980s and early 1990s, 4 Detroit teenagers and aspiring hip-hop artists collaborated under the name Basement Productions, producing hundreds of music recordings. These 4, Marshall Mathers, Eminem, James Deal, Chaos Kid, and twin brothers Michael Ruby, Mannix, and Matthew Ruby, Butterfingers, worked in various configurations. So we were able to learn who M made these songs with, and that they were also a part of a compilation mixtape that eventually made its way to the Source. In the suit, Shady Records was arguing that this was their copyrighted material and that it shouldn't be released. The lawsuit ultimately resulted in a few things. The Source was ordered to pay for Eminem's legal fees, and the judge also dismissed a countersuit that the Source filed in which they claimed they had the rights to the songs. But the biggest thing to come out of this was that the Source was allowed to publish limited excerpts from the lyrics and to distribute CDs containing small clips of the songs, and the justification was under fair use. This is important because there was allegedly 50 minutes of this stuff, at least according to the Source and Benzino, and apparently it was pretty bad.
You heard it all? You heard the entire 50 minutes?
Doomsday?
No, the 50 minutes.
Of what?
The racist hour.
I heard the whole shit.
How bad was it?
It was the worst thing I've never heard no shit like that. And I'm from racist ass Boston. Like I never heard no.
Can you recall anything crazy that they never heard?
They use Porch Monkey in a rap. They rhyme Porch Monkey with Funky, I think.
Benzino also argued that M suing them for copyright infringement was him admitting that he wrote the racist songs. So in February of 2004, the Source published a magazine titled The Most Explosive Issue Ever, Cleaning Out White America's Closet. It was accompanied with the CD that had the snippets, which they titled Eminem's Racist Songs and Secret Agenda to Steal Hip-Hop from the Streets. The CD also said, in an attempt to suppress several blatantly racist songs Eminem recorded back when he was 21 years old, his record company, Shady Records, sued the Source this past December. They go on to say that the snippets they were allowed to post were on the CD. The magazine also featured people like Chaos Kid, who I mentioned earlier, a friend of Eminem's, who said, "There's this thing that they did. It was called the Racist Rap Hour with Basement Productions, and I refused to even get on it." The outlet today said, "The issue also contains interviews with former associates who claim the rapper made dozens of even more racially derogatory types as part of an all-white rap clique. By all means, this should have destroyed Eminem's career. I mean, if this came out today, it would have been over for Slim Shady." For a long time, Eminem's career had survived because hip-hop fans weren't very much concerned with homophobia and misogyny, especially at that time.
Everybody in hip-hop discriminates against gay people. To me, like, that's one of the standards of hip-hop.
However, racism from a white Eminem should have ended his career right there and then, but somehow it didn't. And in fact, just the opposite happened. The lawsuit and the apology helped keep this incident fairly low-key. I mean, most Eminem fans nowadays have no idea this even happened. And to be honest, his team also seemed to have crafted a bit of a narrative that he was a bit younger than he actually was, and people just assumed it to be true.
And I'm not going to defend this motherfucker Eminem for saying what he said, but supposedly when he said it, well, he's like 16 years old. Like, can we all be held accountable for the dumb shit we did at 16?
He also said on that freestyle I mentioned that he said the N-word as a teenager. Obviously the age discrepancy is only a few years, but it most likely helped his case that people thought he was younger. Going forward though, M did reference the situation a little on the album Encore in 2004. First, on the song Like Toy Soldiers, he talked about a lot of his beefs, saying he was too mature for the childish diss tracks, and wanted it to be over. He referenced Benzino in particular on this track as well.
You know, it's pretty much to me, what the intent of the song, what the intent was to do, is to just say at least from our side, like, this is a chapter in our lives that we want to close, and we want to move on from this beef.
Then on the song Yellow Brick Road, he brought up the racist tapes. He talks about his relationship with the girl he mentioned earlier, and says that she dumped him for a black guy. M then said, "And that's the last I ever seen or heard, or spoke to the old foolish pride girl. But I've heard people say that they heard the tape and it ain't that bad. but it was. I singled out a whole race, and for that I apologize. I was wrong. Many fans likely thought that Eminem was sincere after his multiple apologies, but that wasn't it. Part of the reason Eminem's career survived was the fact that all of the people around him were huge and well respected in the culture, and since they continued associating themselves with Eminem, everyone else figured M was cool. Shady had signed to 50 a couple years prior, and years before that, M had signed to Dre's label. He was also with his rap group D12, in which he was the only white dude. Side note, I've mentioned this before, but D12 was one of my favorite rap groups as a kid. I found them on Pandora on my iPod, and that just changed my life. I got so into rap, and it was over from there. So shout out to D12. Regardless, after releasing Encore, Eminem took a hiatus from the rap game. He cited drug addiction as the reason why, and that he had entered a drug rehabilitation program. Not only that, but the next year his close friend Proof and member of D12 was tragically killed, which likely didn't make him want to come back to rap any sooner. Some have theorized that the reason M took a break had something to do with the racist tapes, but based on everything else that was going on at the time, that probably wasn't his top priority. However, what I think is even crazier is that rather than Eminem getting hurt in this controversy, it was actually Benzino and The Source that took the most damage from this conflict. After publishing the magazine about Eminem's racist past, Interscope, the label that M and Dre were under, pulled their ads from The Source magazine. This was a huge blow to The Source and definitely hurt their pockets. The next year, Benzino left The Source, citing the Eminem situation as one of the main reasons. He said, "I want to step down from the magazine and sell my stock effective immediately. I've been consumed too much with the whole conflict thing, the Eminem suit, and I am sick of it." According to MTV, the feelings were apparently mutual, as according to a spokesperson for The Source, Black Enterprise disliked Benzino's practices. After being asked on Vlad TV if he regretted putting out the tapes, Benzino said this.
"I hear that all the time. The tapes would have went out. The Source magazine was music, politics, culture. It was everything that had to do with hip hop. And this was a moment where one of a rapper who was being groomed to be the biggest selling artist of all time has racist tapes."
Regardless, the situation still did not pan out in Benzino's favor. It seemed his lack of credibility and the personal vendetta he had against M made people not trust him as much. And I'm willing to bet if someone else, a much more credible person in the game, had released those tapes instead of Benzino, the story would have gone over much differently. Over the years, Benzino has talked about Eminem quite a bit, and been pretty wishy-washy about it. For example, he apologized to Eminem on Twitter and said the beef was officially over back in 2022, but that wasn't true. This past year, Benzino was seen on Drink Champs repeatedly bashing Eminem, and then later in the interview started crying.
"I don't got nothing against Eminem. I got nothing against Eminem. Eminem can rap, but I care about us more. I don't want to go through, I don't want to talk about it no more. I don't want. For 22 years, every time I do an interview, they ask me about Eminem. The fuck you want me to do? Come on, man."
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, you gotta feel kinda bad for Benzino here. Not only did he lose the beef, but it seems like he lost a lot of his mental health over the situation as well. Most recently though, on the Danza project, Benzino talked about where he stood with Eminem.
I don't know what else I could do.
You expect him to respond?
I would hope he does.
Would you hope he does? For the critics out there that are saying you hope he does for the clout.
It's good for hip hop, man. It's not has nothing to do with clout. I'm already the guy. You know, right now I'm the guy. Like, he has 40 million followers on Instagram. He's worldwide. They all are looking at me right now. All of them.
Yeah.
Every last Eminem fan on the planet Earth right now is looking at or talking about
they're writing letters to
Benzino
you right now.
Right? Yeah, but they thinking, listening, and looking.
So it seems like Benzino is still hung up on this thing, and wants to settle it with a battle rap, but honestly I doubt Eminem would ever pop out to do that. Although Eminem did take a shot at Benzino on the recently released Doomsday Part 2, so maybe M is still thinking about this situation too. Regardless, it's insane how Eminem was able to flip this situation in his favor. Rather than being cancelled, Eminem just had everyone hating on Benzino. I think one fan summed up the situation well when they said, "Casual fans knew nothing of this." That's how well the industry machine covered it up. I wouldn't even call it a scandal, because it didn't see the light of day. I'm a big fan, and I'm white. Still, somewhat surprising he got a pass on it. So there's a few main reasons that Eminem got away with this scandal. 1, because he seemed to have a great PR team. 2, because he was almost too big to fail. 3, because he was such a moneymaker for his record label, they definitely helped keep the situation quiet. And 4, because he was so well connected in the industry and respected by much other respected rappers that the fans just gave him a pass. Obviously, I'm not trying to cancel Eminem, the guy's about to retire anyway, and at this point he's probably just non-cancelable, but I do find it interesting that the biggest selling rapper ever, who's also white, had this history and no one talks about it. Anyways, the situation surrounding the racist tapes is an interesting one, so let me know how you feel about all of this in the comments below. Anyways, this has been Matty Balls, thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.